Welcome to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast on the Most Excellent Podcast Network. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedian, and an author, does that sound good?
That sounds fine for me.
Okay. Get together to talk about the movies that we love and somewhat questionably enjoy from our favorite decade. I don't have anything funny written because we just watched the movie literally moments ago.
We sure did.
Let me try it again. I'll see what I can come up with. I am an improviser after all. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedian, and an author get together to create the audio version of a visual store window.
Which increases sales by 48%
in 15 minutes.
Every 15 minutes.
In 2 days.
This is Season 1, Episode 8, Mannequin, our movie selection from 1987.
Jonathan Switcher
I'm Sex.
loves to talk to his work.
You know, you're the first thing I've created that made me feel like an artist. Don't you like your new scarf?
He never expected
Not especially.
to hear it talk back.
I really think I'm going crazy.
I am so glad you're working here. I never thought they'd hire anyone stranger than me.
You're the only one who can see me like this.
To the rest of the world, he's a disaster.
You're fired.
And she's a dummy.
You were one sick puppy.
But together,
Hey, don't do that.
You weren't so shy when you were creating me.
You weren't so real.
they make magic.
Look at him with the dummy.
Who are you to criticize? And that new stock boy, and I just want you to keep an eye on him for me.
I think I'm going to handle things my own way. All the girl mannequins disappeared from the windows last night. Film at 11. Yes, my dear, your favorite. She is gone too.
Get him!
Mine's bigger than yours is.
Go get him!
You are magic.
He's talking to the dummy again.
Andrew McCarthy, Kim Cattrall,
You know I would never bother you when you're getting a piece of wood.
Mannequin.
Indeed. Nothing
We just watched that.
going to stop us now.
The three of us just came out of watching that.
Yeah. Because you can't stream it.
No, it's a gem buried deep in the sand. Well, yeah, I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it
An
on Netflix.
elusive piece of film history.
Couldn't rent it on iTunes. Yeah,
Nope. Couldn't buy it on Amazon. Had to get a
Bought the 2-pack.
physical DVD.
We had
Gross.
to physically unearth a time capsule that someone put a VHS copy of Mannequin in, and then convert it to a DVD, and then watch it on DVD.
Yeah.
so we've got a guest this time.
We do. Yes, we have to do the introductions of people. And Nathan hates it when I introduce him. So why don't you introduce yourself, Mr. Blackwell?
So I'm Nathan Blackwell, a filmmaker. I'm with Squishy Studios. I do comedies. And then Chris, he's here too.
I'm a comedian. I'm an improviser and director at National Comedy Theater. And we do have a guest today. Very exciting.
Very special.
Craig Curtis
So
is here.
we both have a history with this man.
Yes.
So Craig is one of my oldest friends. He's part of Squishy Studios. Craig is a writer, and he's also an author in his own right. Craig, you want to talk about the books you write?
Yeah.
I do. Oh, and you mean now? Yes. I've worked with Nathan at Squishy Studios, and I've known Chrissy for about as long, actually, as I've known Nathan, which is several decades now.
We don't need to get into
We all
exact
lived
numbers.
on the same street at one point.
Yeah, all three of us.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I didn't know Chrissy when I was a kid, but apparently we lived. I moved into the house that next door to where she used to live. She moved out. And then we moved in, and we never saw each other.
Nope.
It was like The Fifth Element when Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman, they never meet. They're the opposing sides in the movie, and they just never actually meet. And there's the one scene where Gary Oldman's going in an elevator, and then Bruce Willis pops out of the other elevator, and that's as close as they ever meet. And that's as close as Chrissy and Nathan, ever got a chance to know each other when I was a kid because I lived just down the street, and that whole time it was just
The
like
proverbial Mila Jovovich.
yes, that was me.
I've never seen The Fifth Element.
All right, well, just roll with it.
Okay.
It'll be in our excellent
it's-
90s podcast.
It's an exact parallel of this particular
Okay,
moment
good,
in podcast history.
Good.
So, Mannequin, 1987, right?
Yeah, 1987, absolutely. So we don't have a summary for this. Do you want to try and sum it up for us in a few sentences?
The plot of the movie Mannequin?
Yeah.
Why, sure. It is... I don't have the actors' names, unfortunately, and I'll throw a blank.
Andrew McCarthy.
Andrew McCarthy is the star,
Kim
along
Cattrall.
with Kim Cattrall, and some other people. Estelle Getty's in it.
Yes.
That's all. That's
Yeah.
all.
Meshack
okay.
Taylor.
Okay, Andrew McCarthy is a
James Spader.
James Spader is in it. Andrew McCarthy is an aspiring sculptor who can't hold on to a job, and he goes through several jobs. One of which is sculpting mannequins. And
But what he can hold on to is his mannequins.
yes, his problem is that he takes too much time doing stuff because he's an artist. He creates a mannequin and then later sees the mannequin in a store window display at a department store, talks to it for a while, and then gets a job there and ends up discovering that the mannequin comes to life, but only when he is alone with her. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention the mannequin is the spirit of some Egyptian lady who prayed to an Egyptian god.
Really
to
kind
do
of a
stuff.
middle-class Egyptian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of
Mummy.
One of those standard white blonde Egyptians.
Yes. Well, I did not know Kim Cattrall was an Egyptian going into this movie.
Ancient Egyptian.
It was
yes.
it was that rare 10-year gap where the whites controlled Egypt.
I think that was called the Middle Kingdom.
Yeah.
But yes, she's an Egyptian middle-class princess who has been floating in the ether for the last several thousand years. And I guess she comes to life for,
She's
Christopher Columbus, I think she
she
said.
was Christopher Columbus's muse.
Yeah.
Yes. to
So it's
inspire him.
her
Wipe
fault
them out.
that he
All of
murdered
them.
all those people.
It's strange that they didn't go in that tangent for this movie. But no, so she's decided to, I guess, possess this mannequin, which vaguely looks like her. And
I thought... Is that what you thought was happening?
well,
That's not
No,
what
no.
I thought was happening.
oh, well, what's your interpretation? Because it is a little, it leaves it open to the viewer's imagination as to what the hell's going on.
Well, okay, we'll have to get into that later because
All right, well, let me finish the
Yeah.
the recap here.
definitely do.
Hijinks ensue, and the rival department store is furious that over the last 3 days of dressing this department store window.
The battle of the two department stores.
Yeah, I just imagine that
in
they're across the street from each
Philadelphia.
other.
They were. I think they showed
Are they
them.
literally across? It just
Yeah.
feels like it. It just feels like you're just on this one street in Philadelphia, according to the caption.
in not New York.
Not New York, certainly
Or
not.
Toronto.
or Toronto, or Vancouver. But it's they have this department store rivalry, which is a very 80s thing, I suppose. And over the course of a week, they are making these great window displays that draw huge crowds to the failing department store. And so the successful / evil department store is getting jealous, and so they eventually kidnap or steal the enchanted mannequin. And then Andrew McCarthy has to go rescue his gal, and hijinks ensue as well. And
So many hijinks.
yes, so many. It is a veritable smorgesbord of hijinks.
That should be the log line for this movie. Mannequin, a veritable smorgasbord of hijinks.
That should be on the front of the Blu-ray when they finally get around to doing this on Blu-ray.
So what is we all have a different history with this film. So I've never seen. I walked into this movie cold. Like I knew about it, but I had never ever seen it. So
First time.
And then you.
I watched this movie a bunch when I was a kid for some reason. I remember really liking it. I'm certain.
We all have movies like that.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to this, but I think it's terrific. It totally holds up 100%.
So I have a theory about this movie, but Craig, go ahead. And...
I saw it once when I was a kid.
So like 30 years ago.
Yeah, so 1989, 1990, every Friday my dad would come home with videos to watch for the weekend. One weekend, this was one of them. I watched it. I finished watching it. I noted that I watched it, and then I forgot that it existed for 30 years until it was unearthed.
Oh, my gosh.
So we all have those movies when we're young, like preteen, that we watch. Like for me, that'd be like Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren. It's like, okay, there's so much I love about this movie, but I know deep down it is a terrible movie that is stupid and is dumb, and really there's nothing really good about it. This is like the girl version. Mannequin is the girl version of Masters of the Universe and those kind of movies.
So,
although I did, I have to preface, I had a pretty great time
watching it. Yeah. I stand by it.
Would you call this? I know that there's a common term called the guilty pleasure. Would you call this a guilty pleasure for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the thing. It's when I say it's a dumb movie, but it's not a terrible movie.
Yeah, no, it's not a good movie. I'm not making the argument that
right.
It is a
like
good
if there were like check marks of like good characterization, good plotting,
nope,
clear storytelling,
nope, doesn't have any of those
good
things.
storytelling. None of those things.
Comprehensible storytelling.
But it's got charisma.
It does. It has a charm.
It's got
so
pluck.
Here's what we're learning about me is that E.T. is an objectively wonderful movie and I cannot deal with it. This is an objectively terrible movie and I can't get enough.
So what does that say about you?
I don't know, but it says it's something.
And now
meaningful.
everybody knows.
So there's so many things we have to talk about. Should we start with big stuff and then go chronological, or should we go chronological?
Let's just unpack this.
A whole thing? Okay. It seemed to me like there...
So why did we pick this movie?
Because I think it's great.
It is a great pick because people have heard about it. It wasn't necessarily... It was not huge at the box office.
No, not at all.
No. But it is kind of...
It didn't really gain a cult following exactly because, again, it's not on DVD, or at least it's not on the streaming services. So if it had a cult following, you would think it would be a little more popular.
No one's clamoring for more Mannequin.
Yeah, but it's
but
not
it
like...
is so 80s.
I've never heard anyone badmouth this. I've heard people badmouth the second one, Mannequin 2 on the Move. I've heard people badmouth that one. But I've never heard anyone badmouth this movie. It's not like an epically bad movie. Or a bomb box office bomb. I've never heard negative stuff talked about this movie. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah, and it doesn't make a goddamn bit of sense either.
I tell you, when I watched it the first time 30 years ago, and I watched it again tonight, there was stuff at the very beginning. I didn't remember any of it. You open in ancient Egypt and. Like, is the wrong movie in? Because I don't remember any of this.
And you think it's going to be a feminist piece because Kim Cattrall's character's whole point of view is to ask the gods for help because she doesn't want to get married.
The guy that her mom set her up with a camel poop distributor or something. I don't remember.
Camel dung, yeah.
She wants to be free. She wants to be a woman who can make her own choices, and she wants to fly. And I guess the gods
spends
are
her
like,
entire life as a muse. It's like two competing ideas.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, but there's too many ideas, but also there's clearly not enough. So all three of us are storytellers. I'm filling in the gaps of like, okay, so the gods like granted her wish or whatever, but she hints at but never says that she can't stay with him. Didn't it seem like there should have been a deleted scene where she's like, I can't stay with you?
I can't because I keep going to these other people and I always have to move on.
Like Mary Poppins.
Right.
Like once she has
like
helped
unless she
him.
falls in
once
real
I've
love.
fixed you as an artist,
Yeah.
I have to wait 100 years and fix the next guy. An
Yeah.
artist. Or the Mary Poppins syndrome.
So
I'm
was
pretty-
it that she originally had like all these dreams to do something great, and then she just kind of settled and decided to start fixing men, and then
Oh, no.
and gave up the idea of love?
I have an intriguing theory, which I don't know if I should share now or later on, because it reminds me a lot of a modern movie that I kept thinking throughout. This is kind of that movie is a remake of this one, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Well, this is Pygmalion, right?
it's based off of the fable, Pygmalion fable about the I think it's a Greek sculptor who makes a statue of a woman, falls in love with the statue, and basically goes to Aphrodite and says, "Hey, can I please have a wife who is like this statue who I love?" And so he pays tribute to Aphrodite at the temple, and then he goes home and he kisses the statue, and the statue comes to life, and boom, he basically it's about
How much kissing
man-
did he have to do?
a man creating his ideal mate, like literally creating her. And that's basically
But
what it is.
just the outsides of her. Like,
I know.
nobody
I mean,
cares.
it's-
I think this movie
It has nothing to do with her intelligence or personality. It's just, I'm going to make a really hot statue
Yeah.
and
right.
give her whatever personality you want. But
gonna make a
as
really
long as it
hot
looks like as Egyptian as Kim Cattrall can be.
Yeah.
And that'll be fine with me. And, maybe don't make her a nag. And so that's, they weren't particularly enlightened, as we like to think, in ancient Greece. But then again, it keeps switching over. And, the Pygmalion fantasy continues to this day. And it just kind of evolves a little bit. But it's, you look for your ideal mate and you're looking at the outside of your ideal mate.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for. And,
So-
that's
This
what
movie,
did it remind you of?
what modern movie did it remind me?
Yeah.
Ex Machina.
Oh yeah.
It's about the constructed automaton who has sentience, and she basically seduces a guy and convinces him to help her free her from her glass cage, and so that she can join the real world. And
No spoilers.
oh yeah, spoiler alert. But if you saw Mannequin, then you probably saw Ex Machina.
Yeah,
because they go hand in hand.
They have the same.
You could
Ex
switch
Machina and Mannequin do have the same ending.
Yeah.
Is it a freeze frame?
Yeah,
In the marriage, yeah.
where they're kind of
The
half
wedding.
blinking in the wedding ceremony.
Yeah.
yeah. And the famous song, which works for Ex Machina too. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
So this movie feels like there's a lot of deleted scenes,
Mm-hmm.
or there was like multiple writers like coming in. Oh, let's give her more empowerment. She wants to do this, this, and that, and then they didn't work on the entire script. So there's all these other aspects of like Pygmalion and the muse. I am here for you. You've created the perfect version, and like it's like, oh, it doesn't look so great for women. They went through and kind of gave her the dream of flying, and once she flew on the hang glider, she was okay.
She also
was
flew
done
on
with
the hang glider indoors inside a shopping mall, where I think with hang gliders you kind of need some wind under you to actually glide.
That's how those
But,
work.
Because she was like circling the place for a couple of minutes, and then she kind of swooped down, and I thought she killed the security guard guy, but no, she hit him so hard that he fell asleep, and his dog flew into a tree.
What happened to his dog?
What happened to his dog?
Dog disappears halfway through. It's like
Probably at home. So
The
yeah.
dog whose name is Rambo, who gets replaced by a dog named Terminator. We didn't talk at all.
well, it's because we haven't gone
We're
in
just
order. but-
sliding down the
Yeah.
slope of. Okay, so starting with the very beginning,
James Spader is in this movie.
James Spader, who is like acting the fuck out of this movie. He's just like
He's in it all the way.
he is so committed to this slime ball character.
You know what? If you looked at James Spader's career, it would be like a reverse bell curve of creeps. Like, definitely started in the creeps. There was one point he definitely got respectable, probably around Stargate, and then it started going right back towards creeps.
Yeah.
I just saw him last night in Lincoln. He was great. But total creep.
Yeah, he knows how to play that. And, he's even, Lincoln's a period piece, but it's a modern creep. And this version of James Spader is a very 80s creep. You got to have
80s.
I mean, that's the reason Mannequin works in this particular podcast, because this is an extremely 80s movie. It really is. Every ounce of it is very 80s. The characters are 80s. The plot is 80s. The little subplots, you even have the, sassy gay sidekick character, which wouldn't work today. I know you like the does it hold up? There are several elements of this. A lot of sexual harassment in the workplace that just kind of goes by the board, and so
just left, right, front, center, sideways. There's one character who's getting sexually harassed.
And she's like the
Non-stop.
main villain.
The men get sexually harassed in this movie. If in terms of like recommending this movie, that's the asterisk we got to put on in terms of like showing it to your preteen girl.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, right. There's maybe about 9 sexual harassment scenes.
Well, it's a teachable moment because you can say, "Can you believe that someone would behave like that? Thank God we know better now."
But the problem is you're going to get tired of saying that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's going to be a running comment.
But yeah, it's interesting. From like, okay, so our first episode was Airplane, where you had the very flamboyant gay man in the air traffic control tower, and then kind of seeing like over the 80s where that kind of character, that character style of what like popular culture saw as like the exciting, flamboyant gay friend, where they kind of end up here at 87.
Yeah, in the 80s,
I feel like
a gay guy needed to be approachable by making him flamboyant and harmless.
Well,
that was how you made
he was allowed to be himself, even though he was definitely kind of like boxed, stereotyped.
Oh yeah. Oh, huge stereotype. But he also is like,
he was flamboyant, but we were supposed to like his flamboyancy. It wasn't.
He was a cuddly flamboyant.
And
he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't like overtly sexual. He wasn't Fire Island gay. He was, he was fashion designer gay.
I think his like raunchiest pun had to do with getting wood, right?
Yeah.
When
Well,
you're
the
making out with a
wood
mannequin.
double entendre made appearance once or twice in this movie. As you can imagine, it appeared at least a couple times in the trailer you just played.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made good use of metaphor.
But so Hollywood, the flamboyant character, immediately accepts that Andrew McCarthy has a relationship with this mannequin. Like,
because he's an artist.
Absolutely. He's just like, yeah, you're into mannequins. It's totally cool. I support you 100%. Like, no judgment. No judgment. And the people that work in the store seem to be fine with it, too.
Yeah, and it's a weird because there's a plot
Because they're
point
making
with the
money.
villains.
Yeah.
It's like Hollywood.
Yeah.
The villains took a couple of snapshots of him with, like, lying on his back with a mannequin on top of him.
Compromising photos.
And, yeah,
so the
like,
bad guys took surveillance
They weren't
photos
just
of
compromised.
him.
They said, we have, like, these photos of you doing illegal acts. He's lying there with a mannequin on top of him. That's not illegal.
Right.
And
there's no nudity.
everyone at his workplace
There's no
knows
insertion.
about this. They
Yeah.
they let him into the women's room with the mannequin, knowing, making assumptions
go on
as to
in.
what. Yeah, go on in and take as much time as you need to deal with your muse. And it's pretty clear that they have an understanding about what he's doing in there. And they do a montage, and he goes into a storeroom with her. Mm-hmm. He carries the mannequin into a storeroom, and they're like,
For like a nooner.
they're like holding the door open, yeah, and then applaud him, and then, oh boy, yeah, good luck in there, give it to her good, old boy.
Okay,
And
so they do applaud. He wakes up at one point naked on a pile of what I have to assume are fur coats, which they can't sell those now.
Not with that extensive cleaning.
No. She was there with him, but she had to go get into the window. That's the night she gets kidnapped. So he wakes up in the morning. Okay.
he wakes up in the middle of the sales
So
floor.
what we haven't
Before
said
that, he
is
falls
Kim.
asleep while he's talking. What
Yeah.
kind of monster falls asleep?
That's why they call it pillow talk.
while they're talking, when he wakes up on the pile of fur coats and everyone from the store is standing around looking at him and they applaud when he wakes up. Why?
Yeah, like a gentle,
Right.
like golf clap applause. Like,
Yeah.
oh, very good, very good.
Very
Yes,
good.
yes.
Well
I approve.
done.
Yes, indeed.
Cheers. 5 stars.
Yes. Well, well played.
One thing we didn't mention is that only he can see Kim Cattrall. When
Yes.
anyone else
Yes.
looks on her,
she's
she
only
turns into...
she's only alive when the two of them are alone.
Yeah, if anyone comes in on them, she reverts into a mannequin.
No matter what position she's in. But they also don't explain that. Like, they leave. She mentions at one point, didn't I tell you?
Yeah,
Only you
and-
can see me. But why? I need to know how this magic works.
That is the hard and fast rule until it stops applying at the very end for
Right.
no
When he learns his
particular
lesson.
reason.
Because of true love.
True
He didn't-
love is
he
saving
didn't
someone
love
from a
her
wood chipper.
In the
Yeah.
you have to actually save her
Spoiler
life.
alert. She at the very end, the jilted girlfriend throws all the mannequins into the wood chipper. And
She was the main villain too.
Yeah,
the
which
jilted
is
girlfriend
weird.
was the main villain, and her boss. All he really wants to do is blackmail the guy into coming to work for him instead, which is kind of a dick move. But at the same time, he
He was also trying to buy the.
buy out the department store. But it's not
out
like
from
he was.
under.
She was the one who wants to murder his crazy wooden girlfriend, and so they'd been broken up for most of the movie, and I'm not entirely.
Which
she's
Craig
just pissed
was
at
2
him.
days. They had
Yes.
been broken up for
Oh yes,
2
so
days.
that's the other amazing thing about this movie is that
the condensed timeline.
he'll go through like 8 jobs, and he'll have a dinner meeting, and then he'll go to the department store, and something will happen, and he wakes up, and all the last 30 minutes was just one day.
Yep.
And they refer to, oh yeah, on Monday we did this and that.
He only makes 4 shop windows.
We're in the Ferris Bueller time vortex where so much
They do
happens.
lots of costume changes, as you might imagine, too.
I literally think the entire movie takes place over like 5 days.
I think so.
yeah,
I think
it's a Monday to
you're right.
Friday
And
engagement.
what you get is not only him going through like 10 jobs and
Mm-hmm.
losing a girlfriend, getting this new job, that job going from like, we're going to have to lay off everyone off, we're only worth 10% of what we originally were, we're 100 years old, to them going to like 200% sales, and the company across the street
It was
going
a
to...
400% increase. It was
Yeah.
the exact increase
And
of
it was
crime in
it was a
Escape from New
headline
York.
in the newspaper, in the Philadelphia
And then the
newspaper.
competitor...
Two different headlines.
They had a headline about him
With a-
designing the window.
and a huge picture of him on there, too. Like this is what you want to see. This is going to get you to read
Who's
this
reading
article.
this newspaper? This newspaper is just Visual Merchandisers Weekly, which, by the way, I have been a visual merchandiser. Nobody gives a shit about visual merchandisers. Like,
That is not a daily publication. It's a weekly publication.
but she says to him at one point, "I'm going to promote you to visual merchandiser," and then the next day he's vice
And it's treated like a
president.
big...
Uh-huh.
And then
And the thing-
that's another 80s concept is success means climbing up the corporate ladder.
being
you know,
Yeah.
vice president.
Yeah, it's not good enough that he's fallen in love and found a place where he belongs and is starting to make friends and stuff. No, we have to make sure he becomes vice president of something.
He's vice
Because
president
it's like
of
an award.
Mannequin
It's like an
fucking.
arbitrary award.
It's
like
what accomplishment meant in the 80s was being financially successful and being climbing up the corporate ladder. That was what and you saw it like in Back to the Future too. Marty wasn't happy with his normal life, and then when he finally comes back at the end of Back to the Future, how is it displayed that he still has the same girlfriend he has? It wasn't like true love was the thing he was looking for. No, all his brothers and sisters, they all have successful jobs. His father's a successful author.
Yeah, they're yuppies.
And then he's got and they're yuppies, and he's got this kick-ass truck in the garage. That's what the turnaround. This is your reward, financial security for you
Yeah.
and your
they're
family.
so lucky they still
There's such an
kept the
80s
same house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exact same house with a hugely different financial bracket. It's it's such an 80s thing though.
And the thing that turned profits 400% were at that point just 3 window displays.
yes,
Yeah.
This is Monday to Wednesday so far in this particular movie. It happened extremely fast, and
It's bananas.
the stakes of the the stakes of this movie are interesting in that it's basically about the rivalry between two department stores and their sales battle over the course of this week. And like, oh, we won this week, so next week there'll be a whole new adventure, and then some other kid will come along with a different mannequin.
It's too much.
So the stakes are just basically two different department stores. One might buy the other one out, and that's the extent of the overall stakes. The character stakes are this guy finding true love in the mannequin he created, and making sure that he can get a successful job as I'm a vice president of mannequin posing. And
he's the vice president of mannequin relations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very much his brief. And
I would love to see like a cut scene of like Kim Cattrall, like she's alive now, she's a human, she walks in on him like with a mannequin.
With a different mannequin.
What is
I thought this was you.
It's not what it looks like, honey. I
thought this was you. I thought you were sleeping.
You've changed since you had to eat, sleep, and poop.
I'm pretty sure that Mannequin 2, though, did not have anything to do with any of these characters. Is that correct?
No.
It was just like we're taking the same concept and putting a whole bunch of different characters in it.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
It's a necklace, a cursed necklace.
It's Mannequin 2 TOO.
So
I'm
that
a
there's
mannequin
no
also.
So yeah, it's in this particular.
No, what happens is Kim Cattrall bites another woman and she turns into a mannequin.
This could really, with the Egyptian opening section about, you're basically being cursed or blessed or given superpowers and you're going to float through the age. This is like, something out of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
She has superpowers and she has a curse and a limitation. This is like an X-Men. This is X-Men Apocalypse right here.
Okay, but here's a question that I have where I really need to nail down how this magic works. So you were saying that she has chosen to flood her consciousness into this mannequin. So then couldn't she also just boop right out of it when it's going into a wood chipper and like hop into something else? Is it like...
I assume
like
whatever. Here's the question. And this is probably in the 6 hours of deleted scenes. Like Nathan said, they cut this thing down because it was like Lord of the Rings length. But when
I
she
don't
was,
think there were any deleted
when she
scenes.
was musing,
I think we just saw deleted scenes of the movie.
When she was musing Christopher Columbus and Michelangelo and Aristotle and all these people throughout the ages, presumably she was doing it through some sort of homunculus construct. What happened to those?
That's what they explain in the opening cartoon.
Yes, in that 70s cartoons that was in the opening credits.
That's why she's the Mona Lisa.
There you go. So, okay, so if
I
she
was
was
wrong.
the Mona Lisa...
They explained everything, and I was just too...
In a very quick
Here's
cartoon
the thing, though.
opening.
Why isn't she still the Mona Lisa, then?
That's what I'm saying. So
She transfers her soul.
why should
From
she, then,
construct to construct.
but she
Because
wasn't
as
in
the
any
muse,
danger.
they've now learned, they've gone over whatever hurdle they had to go over. And in thinking that, like, you could see, like, Kim Cattrall was ready to leave him. No, I want you to take on this window display all on your own. You don't need me. Like, she was
I've
starting
already
to...
been
she
here
was like-
three
she's starting to
whole
separate him.
days.
Right.
I gots to get going.
Right.
I've got to float through the ether for another couple centuries until another guy like you
But
comes
when
along.
she finds true love, she's like hanging from the wood chipper. He's holding on to her, and she's going to fall into the wood chipper, and suddenly she turns real. Why did she not gain like so much more? I would have given so much if like when he was holding her over the wood chipper, she was a mannequin,
And then suddenly the
she became
hand becomes alive and
Yeah.
grasps onto him.
and suddenly she goes from 10 pounds to 150 pounds,
Yeah.
and he just drops her right in.
because of the
shit.
weight difference.
Turn back. Although, yeah, Kim Cattrall weighs 90 pounds soaking wet. But yeah, no,
Can
I
we
love
just
what
say
you're saying.
Kim Cattrall is a fox in this movie?
Okay, here's something I was uncomfortable
I second
with,
that
though.
notion.
Oh, I totally agree with you guys. She and also she hasn't fucking aged a day in the 30 years.
Because, well, didn't her character say that also? Like, oh, I've been around for thousands of years. Like, I don't age.
Are you
So
saying
this is
Kim
the Kim
Cattrall
Cattrall
really
story.
is a living, embodiment of an Egyptian girl who actually became free? She probably, it is like Ex Machina. She because
I was expecting
Spoiler
for her, it's like,
alert.
well, there's one
Spoiler
problem.
alert, at the end of the movie, Kim Cattrall comes alive and dumps whoever the guy was who rescued her and liberated her from her prison, and now she's out on her own, and the other guy can
Then she moves to New York. She meets Carrie and Miranda, and
Yeah.
like that's
Right. Well, yeah, I
Starts to-
expected it's like, there's one problem with us being together. I don't age. It's like, It seems okay for me.
fine.
I think
with
that's
that.
gonna. Yeah, I'm okay. So you're always gonna stay 28 and foxy.
Oh,
This is
no.
the problem.
So there's one point in the very beginning when he's first building her where she is the mannequin version of her is naked
Right.
Yeah.
and the boobs are
Nipply.
just out. Why is that allowed?
I remember, that's probably the only thing I remember when I watched this as a teenager.
As a young man.
That tingly sensation about the mannequin, and that's probably the only reason I remember I saw it at all.
Because there were
but
mannequin boobs.
Yeah,
That was
and it
their way-
wasn't like
it-
Barbie doll boobs. They were...
That's the only way that they could be risque and kind of ride that line. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I didn't like it though because if we're supposed to like be, imbuing her with the spirit and soul of the
Yeah.
character that we like put
Yeah.
her mannequin boobs away too.
Especially since this is kind of a movie. It's a weird one. It's like it's kind of a movie for girls, but yet it's.
What?
No.
It's
what
a
I'm saying
romantic
is-
comedy is what it is.
Yeah,
it's
so,
an 80s
like,
romantic comedy,
like-
and those are predominantly made for the female viewer.
I bet you anything if there was a poll and said like who loves Mannequin, it's gonna skew hard
It's all going
towards
to be
women.
37-year-old women like me.
100%.
Oh God.
Yeah, who for girls who saw it when they were too young to know some things were not so cool.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stand
It's
by
because
that.
the classic reason is so our guilty pleasure movies, a planet blows up at the end, or the bad guy gets thrown into lava.
Guy with chainsaw hands.
Yeah, in this,
I like those too.
in this, everyone gets married.
Okay, but I also like lava. If she fell into lava in this, I would
Or
be
or
into
wood
it.
chipper.
Whichever that would have been the boys' ending.
You guys,
Not because we want her to die,
it's
but
not
because
a boy thing or a girl thing. Is what I'm saying. Like you're gendering the.
Oh, you women are so
category of-
cute.
Oh my God, Nathan. This is the end of the podcast where I stab you. Like,
just like Ex Machina.
oh Jesus.
Seriously, people, watch these two movies back to back, and it's
This
just
is-
going to
that-
it'll blow your mind. It's like
so we-
peanut butter and steak.
This is gonna be this is your deep cut recommendation.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
guessing.
That's
it.
totally my deep cover
That's it.
recommendation.
Here's the thing that apparently everybody in the 80s was just really mean to people, like to their face. Would just like if you were a yuppie, like James Spader type, you could say to somebody like
Yeah.
really rude things and they just wouldn't react.
It's the
the power
snark
dynamic.
talk, it's a power trip sort of thing, and it's like you have to kind of assert your authority or your superiority.
The boss to the employee.
Yeah, by puffing your chest out. And you get that at the end, too, when Estelle Getty is the one, there's a bunch of cops, and then all of the characters are in the room, and whoever sounds like they're in charge, that's who the cops obey.
Yeah.
Arrest these people. No. I have a videotape. Arrest these people. And like,
The cops nodding. And
No
drag him
actual
away.
evidence.
No.
No actual crimes have been
but
committed.
she's holding a videotape.
No.
Yeah, no actual crimes have been committed, but the cops have been chasing. They've been knocking over stuff through this department store.
Okay, so here's a question, and this again, I need to know how the magic works. So Estelle Getty has watched a videotape where she sees them kidnap Kim Cattrall, the mannequin, and Andrew McCarthy sort of surreptitiously
How
asks,
much
like,
of that videotape did you see?
So did she see the mannequin alive, or did
And transform, and is there this whole separate story of
Yeah,
like
how
Estelle
does
Getty
the
just
magic
watching every minute
involve
of their
videotape?
crazy
It's-
adventures?
If no one is physically present, but there's a video cam, this is the problems they didn't have back in ancient Egypt. So I'm sure this is like,
I just realized, you know what she is? She's a weeping angel.
who is Estelle Getty?
No, the mannequin.
It could be either.
It's not gonna work. Yeah. No, doesn't make any sense. Because she should be frozen if there's a camera that can. see her.
Always frozen, which means he really was all this time humping a mannequin under the
on
covers.
a pile of fur coats. He steals so much merchandise from that store.
They have a montage where they have like 14 costume changes,
Uh-huh.
and they're
and
playing
it's like
throughout.
overnight.
Yeah, they're playing throughout it. They're dancing the whole time. for 10 hours. I was just thinking, man, they're burning so many calories.
They really are.
That is, they have very busy nights. There's one scene where he's sleeping during the day, and I guess that's what he's basically Batmaning it to where he's asleep at all the entire day and then gets up at night and does, you're right. They're going through the entire department store doing 16 costume changes and doing like these one-act plays with each other in costume. And they do like, a dozen of those every night until they figure out what they want to do to the display. Then they put up the display. And then I guess he goes home.
Estelle Getty is watching
crashes.
all of it.
She is just watching.
With a bottle of sherry. And
Oh, my God. Estelle Getty is always
She's
watching.
so excited about what the next evening's going to
Well,
bring.
if he is a visual merchandiser, then he's got other responsibilities. He needs to make sure the signage is correct. He needs to make sure that those four-ways are signed. He needs to colorize the rounders. Like, he's got a lot of other stuff to do. In a store, this one department store is the size of a
palace.
mall.
It looks like, Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. It's just like this big,
It's huge.
3-tiered terraced.
And the other store is just as big.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like they just redressed the store over with like more neon, but
with
it's
Fredericks of Hollywood decorations.
But yeah, I suppose that's what Philadelphia department stores must look like because it's not.
Guys, you didn't know Philadelphia in 1987.
It's not what I remember J.C. Penney and Dillard's being like.
No,
where I lived.
Nope. Okay, so two other things that I just have to point out. At one point, he's outside and it starts raining. And the people of Philadelphia scream.
Run and scream.
They scream. Ah!
Which I understand in Phoenix.
Yeah, in Phoenix, like, what the hell?
What is this moisture falling from the sky? So that was amazing.
God is angry.
That did strike me as weird too. And it was movie rain. It was fine at one moment, and then suddenly whoosh, downpour of rain. I assume that happens in places where it rains, because it does in the movies. But yeah, you're right. The people in the background are like, ah, rain!
As if they've just been set on fire.
Like Godzilla's spitting on them.
Which happened in the movie.
We made it a boy movie for you. Godzilla shows up.
Yeah.
But then also the ex-girlfriend works with an Italian guy who is
I don't know if he's Italian. He's just vaguely ethnic.
I think he's supposed to be Italian.
He's supposed to be like one of those wild and crazy guys.
Ethnic lover.
Or at least pretending to be. Oh, no, my language, it is inelegant. I do not know English, which is why I grope you all the time.
Yeah, he's really
That's
sexually
pretty much
harassing
exactly
her.
that accent.
Yeah. It was pretty spot on, I think.
Yeah, you could get a job in 1987.
I could totally be a sexually harassing ethnic guy in 1987.
Sexually harassing? We need to have a role. We need a sexually harassing ethnic guy who's still white.
Yeah, who's still white because we don't actually want to hire ethnics. And
No.
this isn't the 90s yet.
No. But his performance also is like him and James Spader were having a contest to see who
One-upsmanship.
could
A sleaze
who could
contest.
They're
overdo
watching
it
each other.
more.
All right, I got this. Like, hold my beer.
You have to imagine, Nathan, like, what is the director saying to them? Like, no, that was good, but, like, I need more.
Bigger. More.
Bring it up. Come on,
Yeah.
bigger.
Really play with it. Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Like the three of you.
Or you could go the other way. 'Cause
Doing
we
so
don't
much-
know exactly what the other takes were like. Maybe it was like, James Spader, for God's sakes, bring it down. Dial it down to 7.
Dial it down.
This is
dial
7.
it down. For God's sakes, dial it down.
We don't know. We didn't see any of the outtakes or anything, but maybe they just were going way too far and they got him down to this
Like
level.
Nicolas Cage.
Exactly.
That's the one we'll use. Oh, that or there is no director of this movie.
Right. He was probably doing so much coke.
And then also, like, James Spader.
This is the first movie that directed itself.
An AI directed this. A mannequin directed it.
Directed by him.
James Spader and Andrew McCarthy are in Pretty in Pink together, and they're in Less Than Zero together, right?
That sounds right.
Let's just say it's right. So
You have Wikipedia in front of you, don't you? I trust that.
it's so much more fun to not look it up.
To guess?
Just like the 80s, Craig.
Just like the 80s. Well, yeah, we didn't have Wikipedia. We had Encyclopedia Britannica, which wouldn't have that information.
Is that the name of the first one? Okay, so Less Than Zero was also in 1987. So the same year that they did this? the same year that James Spader and Andrew McCarthy were in Mannequin, they were also in Less Than Zero.
I wonder if they had
In
the same
87?
casting director.
Maybe they were shooting them simultaneously.
And they're like, oh, God, that movie is so heavy, and we're all acting so beautifully, and isn't Robert Downey Jr. just amazing? Let's go to our other job and just really...
It'd be great if they
Ham.
during
Robert Downey Jr. sure has a lot of energy.
at night they shot Mannequin, and during the day,
yeah.
shot.
That,
Less
so,
Than Zero.
and Pretty in Pink was 1986,
So that was like a few months before that. Mm-hmm. That was John Hughes.
Yep.
Who should have done this movie? I think this would have been a good John Hughes movie.
Mm-hmm. So those are just all fun things to think about. So the other questions that we ask is how could you see this getting a modern remake? If it did,
Ex Machina.
Okay, so it's solved.
They even have an inexplicable dance scene.
They do.
They
you
do.
are 100% right about
I
that.
am. I tell you, folks, watch them back to back.
You are right. Mannequin was remade, starring
Yes.
Oscar Isaacs and
Yeah. So
Donald. What's his name? Gleason.
Donald Gleason. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
he's yeah.
And the okay.
Poe and Hux
So solved that.
and the girl.
That's
who
done.
I'm pretty sure is Kim Cattrall.
On a scale of one, what should the scale be? One on a scale of 1 sexually harassing ethnic to 10 sexually harassing.
How many ethnics was this?
Or on a scale of 1,
How many pink Cadillacs?
oh my God, we didn't talk enough about Hollywood because
Yeah.
I am so in love with that character. I want to be best friends with that character.
Hollywood was the Morgan Freeman of this movie.
What? What does that mean?
He is the one who brings it all together. He
does.
He's the heart and soul of the movie.
He is, because he's like the most supportive, totally kind-hearted.
Yeah, he's a misfit, and the other, all our good guys are misfits. So it's like he's the one who welcomes them into the world and makes them feel like, department store number 1 is his home and department number store 2 is evil because Hollywood's in department store number 1.
And
Estelle
Hollywood-
Gelly, that doesn't have anything to do with it.
She just kind of comes in. She did like 2 days worth of work, and then
she'll pop in and keep the story from going off the rails every now and then. But other than that, it's Hollywood that's bringing the story to life. He's the Morgan Freeman of this movie.
And he as a character just knows who he is so completely, and just like is so comfortable just being who he is, and who letting himself be himself. It's like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. Hollywood loves himself, and we should all be so lucky.
Yes. We should all have a friend like Hollywood.
Yes.
Who can make us feel like it's okay to be yourself.
So on a scale of 1 pink Cadillac to 10 pink Cadillacs, where do you rank Mannequin?
What am I ranking this on in terms of its...
How it holds up?
How it-
What did you like about it?
Okay. Well, I enjoyed its... I would say this is a very plucky movie. Plucky.
I heard you.
Okay. You had a laugh that suggested some ribald analogy.
Just go on.
I'm filibustering at this point. In terms of how relevant it is today, it's kind of reverse relevant, especially with all the sexually harassment going on. And also because I think there is, in a deeper sense, the idea of physically creating your one true love and basically going, on looks and just assuming that, she'll be hot on the inside too, is not
Turned out to be
necessarily
true. Unless someone was watching.
Turns out she's there's something just terrible about her. Like
she's
I can't think of it.
a Nazi.
Oh God.
Because she was a muse to Hitler too. And she didn't mention that because
that's the B story. I mean, she was best friends with Christopher
That's
Columbus.
the one deleted scene, and I understand why they took that out.
No. That's the stuff she's going to explain to him in week 2 of their relationship.
Yeah.
After
Because
they
got
were married.
Oh, guess what? She really didn't have much of a personality, other than just being like excited about everything and kind of encouraging him to do stuff.
Yeah, she was a supportive girlfriend who really had no ambitions of her own except for flying, and that's that's kind of the Pygmalion message, where if it was basically a man sculpting his wife and not giving her a will of her own. See, and that goes back to Pygmalion. That's not necessarily this movie's sin. It's just transferring it. So in terms of its ability to have a positive message, it has positive messages, but at the same time, some of the stuff does not age well 30 years later. So
10 pink Cadillacs.
Whatever a pink Cadillac symbolizes.
So 10 being like, it's held up. It's perfect.
Like Back to the Future.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, Back to the Future, E.T.
5.7 pink Cadillacs.
Okay. 5.7. Oh.
You have a rebuttal?
What do you think, Nathan?
I'm going to have to go with 5 as well.
5?
I was going to do 6. Now, so this is not...
Were you not watching the same movie I was just watching?
So this is not based on my enjoyment of the film. I enjoyed it. But in terms of it holding up...
Like Hollywood, we love this movie for what it is. But
there's a lot of...
we love it so that
if you had to pick certain scenes that didn't age well, and then added up the quantity of those scenes or moments, hence the final result.
It's an aggregate score.
Fine.
Well, what's your score?
I would give it, based on watchability, and I'm going to say based on enjoyment, that this is the kind of movie that you go back and you watch for the nostalgia, to see those goddamn amazing 80s clothes, to see the bitchy woman's
the movie
apartment.
is fully enjoyable, though.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
saw.
Oh yeah. This was not a bad movie. I've seen
this is-
terrible
we-
80s movies.
We
and
decided
this is not.
It's so bad it's good, which the sequel probably is. This is full on a guilty pleasure.
Yes, for
Yes.
that reason, I'll give it like a 7.5.
Right. Like I would like just
If I
like
were
I
going
was
to call
comparing.
this a beverage, it would be a blue cherry icy.
So this is like I totally.
There you go.
This is gonna keep going.
Metaphor.
So, like for Masters of the Universe, like which I compared it to, it doesn't hold up at all, and I would give it an equal score. Like I'd give Masters of the Universe like a 5, like even lower.
Okay.
I gave it a 5 now.
5.3.
I think though that if you, like we just did, got together with some friends and were like, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe this movie."
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we probably enjoyed this way more, the three of us all sharing the experience and kind of looking at each other
Yeah.
at certain moments and like, oh my God, it's like,
Going, did he just say pussy pants?
wussy pants.
Pussy pants.
Well, that's the other thing. You sometimes they mumbled their lines and it sounded dirtier than it should have
It
sounded.
sure did. What is your deep cut recommendation?
So I'm going to go with another movie. So one movie that I haven't seen in 20 years, but it just feels kind of like it scratches the same itch, maybe for a slightly older woman, which is Earth Girls Are Easy. Have you seen that with Jeff Goldblum and
Jim
Carrey?
And
Was it
I have never seen that.
Damon Wayans?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm aware of its existence, but I have
It's
never seen
kind
it.
of like if you took this movie, and again, I probably haven't seen it since it first came out on VHS, but it kind of feels like that. Like this, and you almost kind of threw in a little like Buckaroo Banzai DNA into it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels a little like that.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
I'm
Accepted.
I'm gonna recommend a podcast, and it isn't because I'm gonna recommend a podcast. It's called Our Movies Ourselves. It's a married couple who are sort of every other episode, one of them picks a movie, they watch it together, they discuss it from the point of view of, because they're both comedians, and one of them is also a licensed therapist. So they talk about the movies themselves and what they like about them. And then they sort of talk about what it means, what it tells them about each other as people, that if they liked it or didn't like it, like, liking this movie says about me.
sounds interesting.
I have,
Yeah.
these are the things I appreciate and these are the things that light up my life. That means I am this way. And then they talk about what it means for their relationship to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense a
Yeah.
little bit? So it's like,
What connection are you making with the movie?
Yeah. And what does it say about us that we both like this movie, or that I like this movie and you don't like this movie? What does that mean
Don't
about?
look at me.
I'm looking
I
right
gave it a higher
into
rating
your
than he
eyes.
did. I said 5.7.
Wait, it was 5.5.
Their very first episode, they talk about Groundhog Day, and I think it's great. You should listen to it. It's called Our Movies Ourselves, a movies and relationship podcast. It's really good. I think everybody should listen to it, and then we'll do a crossover episode with them someday when I learn how technology works.
Awesome.
Sound
Excellent.
good? All right. Closing thoughts. What did we not...
So guilty pleasure. Yes.
Okay, there was one moment that I wanted to bring up too before we are done. The first time somebody walks in on Andrew McCarthy with the mannequin. Also, I have no idea what his character's name was.
No.
No clue. The first time somebody walks in on him with the mannequin, he says, "I was rehearsing a play," which should be everyone's excuse for everything
Yes.
all the time.
The universal excuse is I was rehearsing for a play.
I was rehearsing a play.
But is it ever actually true?
No.
No one. You never rehearse for a play.
There are very specific places and times where you do rehearse for plays. Anyway, I had to throw that in there.
That's great.
Go back to what you were saying. Oh, also, in this Life movies of the 1980s, a look back at the decade's best films.
She's holding it up, by the way.
All of the movies we've done so far are in there. Not Mannequin.
Not Mannequin.
Thank you and good night.
Okay. Be sure to join us next time on a Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast when we were watching Young Guns from 1988. So excited. You can find us online at mostexcellentpod.com. Our Facebook group is the Most Excellent Facebook group. We are on Instagram. Find us, squishystudios.com. Of course, and is it voyagetrackers.com?
Yeah. Which you can find on Squishy Studios as well.
Yeah, find everything. Watch that. nctphoenix.com for me doing improv. Craig, where can people find you and your books and, your...
I have a Patreon page,
Yeah.
CM Curtis at patreon.com, and also on Facebook.
But you go by Craig Michael Curtis.
I go by Craig Michael Curtis. The Patreon page is CM Curtis.
Cool. Go there. Buy all the things.
Please.
And always, you guys know how podcasts work. Like, rate, review, thumbs up, share,
Tell your friends.
celebrate. I don't know. Do all that stuff. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, on the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast, remember to be excellent to each other, and we can build this dream together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
That song's in the movie.
I was rehearsing a play.